The very first task we have to undertake in this module is parsing the received data that we get back from the API from JSON into something a bit more manageable. Open up your data model.qml, and we're going to concentrate primarily on this private member here with our response callback. So we need to add a couple of properties to it to hold the various things we're going to pull out. Let's have a read-only property var called success codes, and these are the codes that are returned from the server, not HTTP codes. So to save you looking them up, I'll just tell you what they are. 100 means success, 101 means success, and strangely 110 means success. I think someone has a penchant for binary numbers. Let's have a read-only property var ambiguous codes. So the response is ambiguous. We're not sure about it. This code would be 200 or 202. So if you're new to programming, all I've done here is create an array with these square brackets. Now we need to have a property that's not read-only because we're going to write to it, var locations, which is going to hold the locations we've searched for. We're going to have another property to hold the listings, which you might guess is listings. Again, this is an array. We'll have another property, which is an integer, just a number, telling us the number of total listings. And that's not going to be set to anything because we don't have anything yet. And then we're going to have a property integer, oh, not an int validator, just an int. I don't know why it does int validator when I press tab, but it does what it does. And what's this going to be? This is going to be called the current page. And it's going to be 1 by default because that's the first page we always get back. Okay, now we can focus on our callback function, this response callback. Obviously, just returning a code is actually a bit useless, but we can leave that in for now for our own purposes, so we understand what's going on as the developer. So what do we need to do? Well, first we need to check that the codes they provide a successful call or an ambiguous call. So that's simple enough. We just say if success codes dot index of the code that we pulled out. Look at me with my brackets again. So if it can get an index, i.e. it finds this code in the array of success codes, then the index is going to be greater than or equal to 0. Because remember, an index is simply a position. Right, so let's put a comment here and say found location. So we want to set our current page as parseInt response.page. So again, this is API specific. It gives you the page number that you've currently requested. Then we're going to set our listings equal to listings.concat the response.listings. We're going to pull out, of course, the number of total listings. I think you guys are getting the idea here. Equals response dot and total underscore results. And if that doesn't exist, let's have an or and let's have 0 as the number of total listings. Okay, and then we're going to call another function called listings received. Okay, and obviously that doesn't exist yet, but we will make it exist shortly. Okay, so that's if we've got some listings. Then we can have an else if, and of course you can have a switch case statement if you so wish, depends how you like to program these things. If the ambiguous codes is indexed with the code, and that is greater than or equal to 0, then what are we going to do? Well, we're going to pass over a list of locations, which is response.locations. And you can put a console debug here if you wish. I'm not going to put one for now because it's all fairly basic, simple stuff. If it's going wrong, you can go ahead and do it. Then let's have another else if the code is equal to 210, that means no results were found. So that's a special case, an edge case, where we're going to set our locations equal to an empty array. And then finally, we'll handle all the other cases using simple else. We found nothing, there's a display error, whatever it is, set locations equal to empty array. So later on, we'll use the fact that locations are an empty array to do something to our GUI to let the user know what's happened. Okay, so what else do we need to do? Well, what do we need to do? Let me just run through this quickly. We've got our listings received that we need to create. And what we're actually going to do with that is create a signal listings received. So up here somewhere, signal listings received. Okay, so we can go ahead and save that. So now this signal will be fired down here in the response callback to tell whoever's listening that we have received some new listings. So let's just save that. Let's run it in the live debugger just to make sure that everything runs okay. So if I hit go, we get a code of 900, whatever that means. If I put London in and I hit go, code of 101, that's one of the success ones. If I put gobbledygook in, what happens? Hit go, 200. So whatever 200 was, that's an ambiguous code. So it would come in here and say our locations are X, but no listings are received because it doesn't know where it is because the location is ambiguous. We don't know which one it is. I can't imagine too many places that are called 7G, 87G, 78. Anyway, so I think their API is a little bit off, but it's a good API nonetheless. Okay, so that all works fine. We've got a signal that we're firing. It says we should have some incoming data that's ready to show. So what we're then going to do is show that data to our end user.